Okay, so let's get right into it. How does a company like Intel, a name that's basically synonymous with computers, suddenly find itself in a complete crisis? We're talking about an empire on the verge of crumbling. It's a wild story.
I mean, just look at this. Plunging stock prices, absolutely zero profits, a chip empire that literally can't even make its own products anymore. This wasn't just a bad quarter, you know? This was a full-blown technological collapse, a story of arrogance and just massive misjudgment.
Right, so the big question is, how did they get here? To really get what happened, we need to look at two totally different paths, a tale of two chip giants, Intel, the king, and its biggest rival, Nvidia.
And this is where things get really interesting. You've got two completely different game plans. For decades, Intel's whole thing was doing it all themselves. They designed their chips and they manufactured them. Total control. But Nvidia, they did something different. They said, you know what? We're just going to focus on being the best designers in the world, and we'll let someone else handle the messy business of actually making the things. And that single decision, well, it changed everything.
And this is exactly where Intel's nightmare began. Look, their designs were still brilliant, no doubt about it. They had some of the best engineers on the planet. But that's only half the battle, right? Because they ran headfirst into a wall. A massive, catastrophic production problem that brought their entire empire to a screeching halt.
Okay, to really understand this mess, there's one term you absolutely have to know: yield rate. So what is it? It's simply the percentage of working, non-defective chips you can get from a single silicon wafer. In this business, yield rate is everything. It's the one number that separates making billions of dollars from just making billions of dollars worth of, well, garbage.
And this analogy is just perfect. Imagine you have the world's greatest cookie recipe. I mean, it's incredible. But your oven is broken, and it burns 9 out of every 10 cookies you try to bake. That's exactly what was happening to Intel. Their recipe, their chip designs, was amazing, but their oven, those multi-billion-dollar factories, was completely broken. They just couldn't bake the cookies anymore.
And I want to be really clear here. This wasn't some minor hiccup or a small delay. This was a total, complete collapse of their manufacturing capacity, the very thing that made them Intel. It's like the king could no longer make his own crown jewels. It was that bad.
And this chart really shows you the catastrophe. The industry target for yield rate to even be profitable is over 90%. Intel's rate? It had fallen to a critically low level. And what does that mean? It means all those brilliant next-gen designs were basically worthless. They were just too expensive and wasteful to actually produce.
So, just when you think things can't get any crazier, the story takes this unbelievable turn. With Intel on its knees, a helping hand comes from the last place you'd ever expect, from their mortal enemy. I mean, why would your biggest rival offer to bail you out? It's a fascinating question, isn't it? In the cutthroat world of tech, that just doesn't happen. It really shows you how bad the situation was. Intel's crisis was so big, it was actually becoming a problem for the entire industry. Even their competitors were getting worried. And get this, the number on the table was $5 billion. That's right, Nvidia offered Intel a $5 billion lifeline. Just think about that for a second. Your arch rival offers you a fortune to fix your broken company. It was an absolutely stunning move.
But here's the real twist. It wasn't enough. Even that huge amount of cash couldn't fix what was broken. The problems in Intel's manufacturing were so deep, so systemic, that $5 billion was like throwing a bucket of water on a forest fire. It just wasn't enough to turn the ship around. So, what's the takeaway from all this? What's the lesson from this huge corporate drama? When the dust settles, what does the fall of this giant teach us? About technology, about business, and maybe even about arrogance?
Well, it really boils down to a perfect storm of 3 things. First, corporate arrogance. They just believed they were invincible. That led to the second problem, a massive misjudgment of the market and what their rivals were capable of. And it all ended in the third point, a total technological collapse in the one area they were supposed to be the best at, manufacturing.
And this quote really hits the nail on the head. The harsh reality is this: in the high-stakes game of making chips, your ability to actually manufacture them can be way more critical than your ability to design them. That's the core lesson here. Having the best idea in the world means nothing if you can't actually build it.
And so that leaves us with one last big question. Is the collapse of one empire just the beginning of another? As Intel's old world crumbles, are we just witnessing the dawn of a new one, built on a totally different philosophy? It's a question that could define the future of technology.